Alright, you guys. So, this is my life. Let me see if I can. Um, okay, so I am going to show you guys something. I don't know if anybody's on, but if you guys are on, please comment. I'm going to show you guys some things, and I want you guys to understand how important this is, because the Erickson theory determines ages and stages. So all of our laws that have previously been in place for our age to drive, or even age of consent, or legal age to smoke, or legal age to drink, or even legal age to vote, it all is based on the Erickson's theory. So for somebody to say that a 10-year difference from an adult and a child is okay is just insane to me, because so even at a young adult, a young adult 10 years from, okay, fine, 10 years from 18, a young adult, that would be 8.
But the law
And an
stipulates 14.
8-year-old is not able to make those decisions, but they're easily persuaded that that would be an okay thing. So I want you guys to understand. I'm gonna actually let this little video play and let you guys listen to it, and I'm sharing my screen with you, so you guys should be able to watch it no problem. And Johnny, go on my live and make sure it's going, that it's playing correctly, please. I don't know why I'm not getting any volume on this.
It's up.
Oh, this one's not. I don't know why this video is not working, guys. I'm sorry. Let me find you a different.
Can they see you on this one?
No. I don't know why I'm not getting any volume on this. Oh, this one's not. I don't know why this video's not working, guys. I'm sorry. Here, let's try this one. Let me. Oh, see, none of them are working.
So maybe you can't play a video.
Oh, this one's not. I don't know why this video's not working, guys. I'm sorry. Here, let's try this one.
That there was plenty of room for growth and personality throughout one's life. So this personality development spanned an entire life, not just childhood.
Oh, see, none of them are working.
So Erickson assumed that
Hold on. I think I might have
until
figured it out.
adulthood, gradually and slowly, and everything is just sort of a gradual.
Here we go.
Welcome back, class. Right here in this video, I want to kind of walk you through one of the most important theories that we're going to be revisiting throughout the entire semester. Hopefully by now you've read through chapter 1 and you've read about Erickson's theory of psychosocial development. Here he is down here at the bottom of your screen, Eric H. Erickson. That is not his given name. He gave himself that name. And he was very much a stage theorist. This is a stage theory. And when I say stage theory, what you should think of is continuity versus discontinuity. Remember that from the beginning of the chapter? A stage theory is discontinuous. It means that you're not just sort of going from infancy to toddlerhood and up until adulthood gradually and slowly, and everything is just sort of a gradual change. It means when you're an infant, then you become a toddler, you're very, very different. It's a fundamentally different stage of development. So there is discontinuity among these stages. How many stages are there? You can see that there are 8. How far do they span in the lifespan? Well, you can see they go really from birth on up to death, infancy on up to the older adult who is facing the end of his or her life. So we've got 8 stages, and in each stage there is what Erickson calls a psychosocial crisis, a psychosocial crisis. And what that means is that in each stage there's something psychologically, some sort of psychological need that you have that you're working on. And you resolve the crisis either positively or negatively. So let's look at the infant. You can resolve, the basic crisis is basic trust versus basic mistrust, okay? You can resolve it positively and end up with basic trust in the world, or you can resolve it negatively and end up with basic mistrust. How does the infant do that? Well, think about an infant. An infant is an utterly helpless creature, right? Cannot survive outside of the womb without help. They have a lot of needs. They have needs for what? Food, nourishment, sleep, diaper changes, love. They have a need for love and holding and bonding. Babies that don't get that love and holding and bonding end up being diagnosed with what's called failure to thrive. A baby can actually die from lack of love. So here's your helpless baby, and they're completely dependent upon the people that are around them for all of their needs. And this is really, truly a life and death situation for this baby. And so what the baby needs is caregivers who are willing to respond quickly, sensitively to the baby's needs. When the baby needs to be fed, the baby should be fed in a timely manner and given what they need. If the baby has soiled their diaper, they need to have that changed in a timely manner. If the baby is crying, they need a sensitive caregiver who will come and take care of them and figure out what is the problem and provide whatever the baby needs. If the baby gets that, if the baby gets that kind of sensitive caregiving, then he forms what Erickson calls basic trust. He has a basic sense that, yeah, I can trust the people in my environment, I can trust the world to meet the needs that I have. And that really kind of extends into his deep, deep part of his psychology where he thinks, you know, I must be okay because these people around me are taking care of me. I can trust them. I'm okay. Everything is right with the world. Imagine, though, a baby whose needs are not met. Maybe caregivers are on drugs, or drunk, or depressed, or just not very interested, selfish maybe, and leave the infant to cry for hours in the crib. Don't do much holding. Let the diaper sit and cause diaper rash. Ignore the baby's cries for hunger. Not responding sensitively. The baby develops what Erickson calls basic mistrust. I can't trust the people in this world to take good care of me. So that's, and that eventually translates into I'm no good, I'm not worth being taken care of, okay? So now this is very interesting because this, however you resolve this crisis, you carry that with you for the rest of your life, okay? If you have basic trust, then when you become an adolescent, you're going to think that teachers, police officers, potential boyfriends and girlfriends are basically trustworthy people, and you're going to be open to relationships, and you're going to be willing and able to trust the people who are put in charge of you. When it comes time to become a young adult and maybe get married or form a relationship, an intimate relationship, you're going to basically feel like other people are trustworthy and have an okay time opening up to another person. A person who ends up in basic mistrust in infancy has a really hard time with those, has a hard time forming relationships as a young adult, has a hard time with intimacy, has a hard time trusting other people. Let's talk about some of the other stages. After infancy comes toddlerhood. What is the number one thing that a toddler is working on? Think 2 to 3 years old. They're working on potty training. That's the big developmental skill, okay, potty training. And this just feeds into what they're working on at that point, autonomy versus shame and doubt, right? A toddler is going around, I can do it all by myself. I can tie my shoes. I can put my own pants on. I can pick out my clothes. I can go to the bathroom. I can go potty and use the potty all by myself, right? They want to do everything by themselves. Autonomy versus shame and doubt. And as parents, as wise parents, we need to help our kids with that stage. What's a toddler's favorite thing to say? No. No and mine, right? They're trying to assert their autonomy. Now, if you don't ever give your child, your toddler, the ability to exert autonomy, which is such a huge thing that they're working on right then you get a really defiant child. And if you're constantly saying no and not letting them have autonomy, they can end up in shame and doubt, feeling like, I'm no good. I can't do things by myself. Okay, so let them put on their shoes, Velcro, please, because they can't tie a real shoe, right? Let them put on their shoes and plan that it's going to take 15 minutes for them to do it. If you're so impatient to get out the door that, and aren't we all racing around trying to get out the door? But if we hurry our little toddler and say, come on, no, I'll just do it for you. You can't do it fast enough. They can end up in shame and doubt. Plan that extra 15 minutes for them to put these things on themselves and pepper them with questions all day long. Do you want to wear the red shirt or the blue shirt? Do you want to brush your teeth first or have a book first? Do you want peas or carrots for lunch? Do you want to hop into bed like a bunny or slide into bed like a snake? Give them a million different things that they can choose, make choices about, and that feeds the sense of autonomy. It gives them self-control and will and power that they need. Preschoolers, initiative versus guilt. If I get out my vacuum and I start vacuuming my rug, what's my preschooler going to immediately go do? Grab her toy vacuum and start vacuuming right along beside me. Mommy, look, I can do it. I can help, right? They're working on initiative. They want to show you, look, I made this picture. I know my colors, right? They're working on taking the initiative. They want to climb up there and wash dishes with you. They want to go out there and change the oil with Dad. And if they don't end up feeling like they've got that initiative and feeling like they have direction and purpose in life, they end up with what Erickson calls guilt. And guilt is this feeling of, I couldn't do things. I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. In the school age, this is industry versus inferiority. And the virtue that comes out of this is method and competence. What's a school ager working on? Man, they are working on all kinds of math and science and history and social studies and reading skills. They're doing basketball and golf and throwing balls and climbing ropes in PE class. They may be signed up for music lessons or signed up for sports or taking art classes. They're doing things. And they love that. And they're working on that. And they're also working on their social skills. So this is the industry versus inferiority stage. Can I do many, many things? Can I have some competency in all of this? And if they don't feel like they're good at stuff, they don't feel like they're good at anything, then they end up in inferiority. Have you known a kid who kind of struggles with school? School is just not their thing, and they end up feeling inferior and not good enough? That's industry versus inferiority. The adolescent, what's the adolescent working on? They're working on who am I, right? One day they're wearing all the black and the goth, and the next day they're signing up for sports and trying to be a jock, and then they're experimenting with being with the bad kids or running around or being a skater or what's the new one, hipster, right? They're just trying on a bunch of different identities. They're trying to figure out who they are. What's their career going to be? What kind of person are they? How are they going to dress? How are they going to present themselves to the world? This is called identity versus role confusion. This stage, Erickson thought, ended right around age 18. And when he was studying and writing, that was true. Back in the 50s and 60s, by the time you were 18, you were done. You knew who you were. You pretty much got married by about age 20 or so. Most people didn't go to college. You got married. A year later, you had kids. You stayed in the same job. That's not quite how it works today, right? There is an argument to be made that today, identity versus role confusion extends up till maybe about 25 and maybe even into about age 30. We'll hit that a little bit more when we get to emerging adulthood in a later chapter. The next stage after adolescence, identity versus role confusion, is intimacy versus isolation, and this is the young adulthood stage. Affiliation and love is what should come out of that. This is the time when we form intimate relationships with other people, whether it's a marriage relationship, a long-term committed romantic relationship, and we can either become intimate or become isolated. In middle age, we hit a stage called generativity versus stagnation. This is the point at which we stop kind of focusing on ourselves quite so much, and we want to become generative in the sense that we're looking back to the generations that are coming behind us and thinking, what can I leave behind that is going to live on after I am gone? And this might be as simple as taking care of your kids. Raising your own children is a generative activity.
Okay, you guys, so I just want to touch on that before we go any farther. So I just want to make sure that we are all clear. The ages and stages for intimacy, period, is after 18. That means that when your brain is developed enough to make informed decisions that could potentially change your life, is at adulthood 18. Like, we don't even let 18-year-olds smoke cigarettes because we don't believe that their brain development is enough to choose to do that. We have now changed that law to 21. Why did we do that? We did that because of the Erickson's theory. Whether they say that or not, that is the reason. There is a development basis. And as you grow from an infant, your brain changes. And if your brain, say we're going to go to, say we're going to go here, a school ager, okay? This would be, I don't know, I would say this would be elementary school. And then the next one would be more like high school age. So we're talking about elementary school agers. Do any of you feel that it is appropriate for an adult to sleep with a school-age child? Do you feel that it is appropriate? Because I really want to know. Like, this is serious stuff, you guys. I'm trying to figure out how to change my video to use my camera. I apologize, you guys. Hold on, just 1 second. I don't know how to switch this. This is so frustrating. Apparently it won't let me switch from my screen sharing, which is a little bit irritating. Yeah, that's irritating. Okay, so I want to know, you guys, so here's my question. What age do you think is what age do you think is okay for Alright, so what age do you think is okay for sexual consent? Do you think it would be 18? Do you think that it would be 16? What about 14 or even 10? I really want to know your guys' opinion.
The government feels the happy number is 14. The 14-year-old should be able to do something basic. It doesn't really, the law has nothing to do with sex. It's basic.
Consent. Alright, so I've published my poll. I really want to know your guys' thoughts on this. So please feel free to go ahead and let me know what you think. I'm also going to create another poll. And I'm going to ask you guys some questions. So if an adult sleeps with a minor, what should the punishment be with? Alright, so if an adult sleeps with a minor, what should the punishment be? Now, in this poll, I'm going to tell you that I am, in my brain, I am not thinking of what we used to know as the Jack and Jill. I am literally talking about these people who want to sleep with our kids. Like, these adults, these weird people who want to sleep with our kids. That is what I am talking about. It's just for clarification. So, I want to know, do you think that a punishment for what I consider pedophilia be life? And Alright, so if an adult sleeps with a minor, what should the punishment be? Life in prison, death row, a fine, or a few months in county jail? I am serious about these things. I am very, very, very interested in knowing your guys' opinions. I'm going to publish this poll. I am also going to make another poll. Oh, okay, so apparently I can only have one poll going at a time. I was not aware. Can you send that to me?
This is the actual Senate voting hearing.
Send it to me on in my email so I can pull it up and not get off my live.
Do that with some
My husband just found the actual hearing. The actual hearing with the Senate committee. So he's sending that to me right now, and I'm actually going to play that for you. I don't even know if anybody's watching my video right now. Sorry guys, I'm sharing this to a few groups while I'm waiting for this email to come through. Did you send it, honey? Okay. Alright, so, oh boy. Great, all these people are going to see my email. Okay, so we're going to go, sorry, I am on the wrong email, so we're going to change emails. Alright, so this is now,
File item 49, SB-145. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 145 by Senator Weiner and Accolade Sex Offenders.
Ms. Kamlager, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I rise to present Senate Bill 145, which will end California's highly discriminatory treatment of specific sex acts by our state sex offender registry law by giving courts discretion over all cases of voluntary intercourse between teenagers and young adults. Under current law, if a young person has voluntary sexual intercourse with a minor, age 14 through 17, and is no more than 10 years older than the minor, the offense is not automatically registerable. However, the court has discretion based on the facts of the case to decide whether or not to place the defendant on the sex offender registry. On the other hand, if any other sex act is performed, then it is mandatory that the court place the defendant on the sex offender registry regardless of the facts of the case. This disparate treatment of these sex acts is a vestige from the anti-LGBT laws in the 1940s that criminalized gay sex. Tragically, in 2019, our laws still mandate that a young person in a consensual relationship who is convicted of performing these specific sex acts must be placed on the sex offender registry, and our courts are barred from using discretion, the word we like so much, to keep them off, even though a similarly situated young person convicted of statutory rape wouldn't have the same restriction. This distinction in the law is irrational and discriminatory towards LGBT youth, as it treats these acts as more egregious of a crime than statutory rape. SB 145 ends blatant discrimination against young people engaged in voluntary sexual activity by giving courts the discretion to decide at sentencing if registering the defendant as a sex offender is appropriate, regardless of the sex act they performed. To be clear, nothing in this bill decriminalizes any of these offenses or prevents anyone from being placed on the registry if a prosecutor recommends it or the court orders it. SB 45 is a law enforcement sponsored and supported bill.
Okay, so just so that we are clear, before I go any farther, if the court feels it's necessary, I want to make sure that that is very clear. So now we are putting our kids' lives in the hands of somebody you don't even know. I just let that set in a little bit, because I have a problem with that. There should not be any discrimination of any child. This is a standard procedure. The Erickson's theory explains the stages of brain development. You are not capable of making those decisions with success and informity and any kind of sense until your brain is ready to, and at that age, in those ages, it's not. It's just not.
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Kamlager. Ms. Gonzalez, you are recognized.
Madam Speaker, I unfortunately am rising in opposition to this bill, and I wouldn't have spoken except that people have misconstrued my opposition, so I want to be very clear. The equity argument that Equality California and others have promoted for this bill, I completely agree with. In fact, I agree with it so much that the amendments that they gave me to take in appropriations, which would have still created a two-tier system, I refuse to take, because it is about equitable solutions. Any sex is sex. I don't care who it's between or what sex act it is. That being said, I cannot in my mind as a mother understand how sex between a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old could ever be consensual.
Yes!
How it could ever not be a registerable offense. I don't care what kind of sex it is.
Yes!
I don't care if it's traditional. I don't even, I'm not going to go there. But the bottom line is, when a 24-year-old has sex with a 14-year-old, it is always in an inequitable situation. Most of the time, it's a teacher and student. It might be a Bible study instructor, a coach, and a student. I've had 14-year-olds. I've asked everybody, as this has sat in my committee for 2 years, amend both sides of the bill. Amend the current
California
situation
State
where
Assembly
one sex
member,
act between a
District
24 and a
80, San
14-year-old might be
Diego
considered
D.
consensual by a judge, and amend this so we can have equity, because it should be equitable. But we should never give up on this idea that children should be in any way subject to a predator. And that's what it is. I cannot, and I've never heard, and I've challenged everybody, give me a situation where a 24-year-old had sex with a 14-year-old, any kind of sex, and it wasn't predatory. Any example, and I've yet to see it. I have been the mother of a 14-year-old over and over and over again, and I'm sorry. Until you can show me that, I can't vote for this bill. As much as I want to create an equitable situation, I think this needs to go back to the drawing board. I think we need to take up both portions of the code and make a determination. I understand it leaves it up to a judge. It leaves it up to a judge. I still have never seen a single instance by which a 24-year-old should be having sex with a 14-year-old. With that, I respectfully ask for no vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes!
Mr. Choi, you are recognized.
Thank you, Speaker and the members of the Assembly. I stand today in opposition of SB-145. Colleagues, as a lifelong educator, we place adults in places of trust with the youth and the children. In an age of historic sex trafficking and child trafficking
Let
here
me know
in
if you guys can
California,
hear this video, okay?
I think that this bill is entirely inappropriate. I don't understand why a 24-year-old volunteer coach should not have to register as a sex offender for being with a 15-year-old student. Statutory rape should be a registerable offense either way, and by lowering this offense, colleagues, we are signaling to families and the children everywhere that we support these abusive situations. If you look at the summary of this bill, it provides that the persons of convicted of sodomy, oral copulation, or sex penetration by foreign object under specified provisions of the law would not be required to register as sex offenders if at the time of offense the person is not more than 10 years older than the minor, and the conviction is only one requiring the person to register. I mean, this is unbelievable. What kind of a bill is this? What kind of a law are we trying to enact by this body? This is intolerable. It is for those reasons that I respectively beg you to vote no against this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. Ms. Friedman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Certainly, this is a difficult bill, and it's a difficult subject. I'm also a mom, and I agree that it would be pretty much impossible for me to imagine a situation where sex between a 25-year-old and a 14-year-old could be consensual. I just don't believe that exists. However, what current law says is that it's possible for a judge to decide that sex between a 24-year-old man and a 14-year-old girl is consensual, but sex between a 19-year-old man and a 17-year-old boy must lead to that 19-year-old being placed on the sex registry for life. That is why the current law is not equitable. If there is a problem with judges ruling that sex between a 25-year-old and a 14-year-old of any gender is allowable, we should probably take a look at that law and changing that law. But that is not the question that is in front of us now. The question that's in front of us now is, why are we treating sex between two same-gendered people completely differently than sex between a man and a woman? That is the question in front of us now, and that is not justifiable within the context of our values in this state. And yes, there are cases where the state is wasting resources monitoring an 18-year-old who's on the registry because he had sex with his 17-year-old boyfriend. That is factual cases here in California. That is why this bill is supported by law enforcement and by survivors advocates and by Children Now, and the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault are supporting this bill because we have dangerous sex offenders in California that need monitoring. But if we're wasting our time monitoring 18-year-olds who had sex with 17-year-olds, which, by the way, if it was a young man and a young woman, would not be on the registry, but is because they were the same gender, we are not using valuable resources monitoring truly dangerous sexual predators.
Okay, so I'm going to pause this just for a second and explain to you guys where I'm coming from this. I agree. I agree that there should not be a difference. I agree that there should not be discrimination. Myself, I believe in traditional marriage, but I also believe that everybody is entitled to their own freedom of will. Okay, so with that being said, my problem is not just that it is okay that they're passing this, but we need to change both laws. It does need to be equal. I absolutely agree with it being equal, but I absolutely do not agree that it is okay for an adult to sleep with a 14-year-old in any circumstances. I don't care what they are. Like, that's ridiculous. These are our babies, are the future of our world. And if you have ever been a victim of a predator in any way, shape, or form, if you are a parent, I hope you stand with me, because this is what we're coming to. This is the life that we're giving to our kids right now. This is the life that we want for our grandkids. I'm sorry, but I don't want an adult to sleep with my children, and I definitely don't want an adult to sleep with my grandchildren. This is wrong. I don't care what the sex is, man, woman, boy, girl, I don't care. That's not the issue. The issue is that this is what is going on. How many of you knew that it was okay for a 24-year-old man to sleep with a 14-year-old girl? Because I didn't until recently. I had no idea. How many of you got to vote on that? Because I didn't.
So let's be clear about what this bill is and what this bill is not. because there's a lot of hyperbole and a lot of emotions over it that are getting in the way of us seeing that this is purely an equity issue. It is not decriminalizing statutory rape by any extent. With that, I urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Friedman. Mr. Maritsucci, you are recognized.
Thank you very much. As a former criminal prosecutor, I rise in support of SB 145. Now, I usually do not rise in support of a bill from Senator Wiener on a sex offender registration issue, but this is an exception. As my colleague from Glendale pointed out, this is trying to rectify this outdated inequity between straight sex versus gay sex. I completely appreciate the comments made by our colleague from San Diego. As a parent, it is hard to imagine anything that would not be predatory given some of the circumstances that she described. But again, I mean, this gives the judge the discretion. You know, and as a former prosecutor, I know that I have prosecuted cases where I felt bad that there would be a potential lifetime designation, the scarlet letter on someone as a sex offender registered for life, you know, when it involved consensual sex. I think it's important that this bill is co-sponsored by the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. This bill is supported by the California District Attorney's Office and the California Police Chiefs. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Maritsucci. Mr. Mathis, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I think when we start getting into these questions of equity and how well balanced this is for everyone, you know, there are some good points when you bring up the handful of cases where it's within a few years. When we start talking about this 10-year gap that this opens up, it tears at the moral fiber of our state, of our community, of our families. And this bill just goes too far. I ask you all to consider that. Think about it. How would you feel if it was your 14-year-old and somebody was 10 years older than them? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mathis. Mr. Mays, you are recognized.
So thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I rise in support of this bill. But I did not last week support this bill because unlike some of my colleagues who are attorneys, unlike some of our colleagues who are prosecutors, some of defense attorneys understand the law, some of our colleagues who are in law enforcement, sometimes these sorts of bills are bills that are challenging for us. But I found this one particularly interesting because the California District Attorneys Association was in support. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Why are the prosecutors across the state, the organization supporting this bill? So I thought, you know, I'm going to reach out to my two DAs. So I called the Riverside County District Attorney, and I called the San Bernardino County District Attorney. Spoke with both of them. And it turns out that one of those district attorneys is an expert in these sex crimes cases. And he said, Chad, I need to spend a little bit of time just digging into this. And after he did, he called me the next day, spent 15 minutes with me going through it. And he said, this bill is righteous and it is just. This coming from a conservative prosecutor. These are the types of bills, members, that it's very easy for us politically to take a pass on.
Wait, hold on a second. Just so that we're clear, he just admitted live that he made his decision because somebody else told him to. Just so we're clear. This guy just made his decision based on that.
If you vote for this, for sure, you're going to get a hit I'm going to take a hit because I'm voting for it tonight. I guarantee you're going to take a hit on this bill. But at some moment in time, it's our job. We say this all the time. It's the legislature's responsibility to make good laws. That's what this says just in front of us. Good laws? This is one of those bills you will take a political hit for. But we also know that it's righteous and it is just. This is the time to step up, and I urge and I vote this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Seeing and hearing no further debate on the matter, Ms. Comlager, would you like to close?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank my colleagues for the robust discussion on this bill. It's always hard on this floor to talk about sex because I think some folks still just don't know how to deal with it. I want to...
Ms. Comlager, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I didn't see that Ms. Weber was seeking recognition. Do you mind if we come back to you for a close? Thank you. Dr. Weber, you are recognized in the rear of the chamber. I apologize.
No problem. I will be very, very brief. I thought there were other folks wanting to talk. I've come here obviously today because I think this is very important. And this is a bill really about social justice and equality. That's what it's really about. And we have seen time and time again, even on this floor, where we've seen acts that have occurred in the past that have made us embarrassed because of the policies that we have that discriminate. And we've seen ourselves grappling with those issues and overturning past policies and celebrating individuals who have been abused because of their own sexual orientation. We did that this year. We've done it before. It is now time that we recognize that the issue of this is not really just the other aspects of the law, but really the issue of fairness and justice and equality, and not our own biases with regards to sexual preference and those kinds of things. And so we can create images that it's, that everything's going amok. But when we have our own district attorneys and others who are very conservative in their point of view, saying this is an unjust practice that we have, and that this law needs to be changed so that we can treat everyone with fairness, regardless of their sexual orientations, I strongly recommend that we vote aye on SB-145, because it's the right thing to do, regardless of what you think of your own personal life. This is about not having discrimination. And we have to acknowledge
then this is not the bill that should be being changed.
And every now and then we have to step forward and make it right. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Thank you, Ms. Comlager, for your indulgence. Back to you for your close.
No worries. Thank you. I want to just reiterate that there is still judicial discretion in this bill. Some folks mentioned the 10-year cap. The 10-year cap is actually consistent with current law. And if folks are challenged with that, I actually urge in next legislative session to do a bill that focuses on that 10-year gap. But that is not this bill. SB-145 does not change the offenses for sex crimes with a minor. This bill does not decriminalize any kind of sexual criminal acts. It allows prosecutors to continue placing offenders on the sex offender registry.
If they so choose.
It is supported and in fact sponsored by law enforcement. And I want to just say that if, a 19-year-old has consensual sex with a 17-year-old and something goes awry in the relationship, that 19-year-old gay child will be put on the sex offender registry. It will be mandatory. And we talk so much about how we support LGBT rights. How would you feel having to tell the parent of that 19-year-old that they deserve to be on the sex registry for life because they're gay? That is essentially what we would be saying. And that is what we are fighting against when we vote for SB 145. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote.
Do you see this?
All members vote who desire to vote.
These are the people voting.
All members vote who desire to vote.
Do you see this, people? This many people are okay with it. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think that...
Clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 41, noes 18. The measure passes.
The measure passes? So, you guys, this is what we're doing. This is, like, I disagree with the current laws. I disagree with these laws that they just passed. I believe that there should not be discrimination on age. Children of these ages are not mentally ready or capable of making these decisions. I mean, honestly,
and for the public to not be able to know who these people are, when you move into a neighborhood or join a new school, it's unacceptable. The people have already asked for that to be in place for the 290, which is Megan's Law. By voting for this, you are saying that you disagree with Megan's Law. That is what this is, an anti-Megan's Law. It states at the very top of the bill.
Alright, you guys, so the man who wrote this bill, Anthony Weiner, released...
Scott Weiner. It's their family member. Scott Weiner is the one. Anthony is the family member.
Oh, I am sorry.
It's referred to as the Weiner scandal.
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand now.
Weiner, not Weiner.
Weiner? He's a wiener? Sorry, guys, that was funny. Okay, so this is Anthony Weiner. This is the Weiner scandal, released from prison after serving 18 months for sexting a teenager. The former Democrat congressman had been sentenced to 21 months for sending sexual explicit text to a 15-year-old girl.
And that is why the law is set around 14, to get him off at that moment.
Oh my God. This is just appalling to me. Anthony D. Weiner, a former New York congressman, walked out of a halfway house on Tuesday morning after his release from federal custody and told reporters, "I hope to be able to live a life of integrity and service." How does that make you feel? Like, really, guys, like, this is something else. It was an optimistic note for a once brash politician who was a rising Democrat star until multiple sexting scandals ended his political career. Multiple sexting scandals strained his marriage and ultimately got him sent to federal prison. Despite his fall from grace, Mr. Weiner sounded hopeful after serving 18 months of a 21-month sentence that he received in 2017 for sending sexual explicit text to a minor. "I'm glad to be getting back to my family," Mr. Weiner, 54, said, according to video post by Fox News. He added, "I'm glad this chapter in my life is behind me." Mr. Weiner's immediate plans were unclear. In an email, he declined to comment further on his future. Though he has served his court-ordered prison term, the consequence of Mr. Weiner's lewd messages will continue to hang over him. As part of his sentence, Mr. Weiner has ordered to register as a sex offender In April, with his release date approaching, he was designated a level 1 sex offender by a judge in the Bronx. The classification, the lowest of the 3 levels given to offenders in New York State, marked Mr. Weiner as posing a low risk of repeating his offense. Under the designation, Mr. Weiner must register as a sex offender for 20 years. He will be required to verify his address every year with a state agency and must report every 3 years to local police to have his picture taken according to the state regulations. Like most people convicted of online sex crimes, Mr. Weiner will also likely have his electronic device and internet use monitored as part of his federal probation, said Elizabeth Jarrett, a professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Unlike higher-level sex offenders, Mr. Weiner's information about his offense and his zip code of residence will not be included on the state's online sex offender database. The information will be available by calling a toll-free number. These are the people that we have in office in our country, like around our country. And this man who is promoting this bill is what, his brother?
You're doing some family research on the whole family.
This is insane to me. So now we're having somebody from the same family introduce a bill that makes it
accommodates him to get off. That's why there's a 10-year difference in why the ages stop at 14, because he's in trouble for somebody with 15.
This is insane, you guys. This is outrageous.
His word is to get that dude and everybody who falls under that off. And the thing is that in the year's time it'll take to overturn what's already done. Do you know how many people will have already successfully removed their dot from Megan's list that are predators?
Oh, hey,
I got it.
Thank you. Sorry guys, this is an early morning thing today. I have kids needing to wake up for school, and normally we wake up at 7, but I kind of got distracted with my live. So, yeah. So I have my poll running. I would love some more input. If anybody has anything else to say on this poll, I'm going to be stopping the poll soon, but even if you guys are watching this at a later time, please still in the comments, go ahead and let me know what you guys think, because I don't think it'll let you continue to pick on these polls after I close them, because it will only let me run one at a time. So go ahead and let me know in the comments what you think. So I'm going to show the results for this in the video. And I'm going to open this one, reopen poll. If an adult sleeps with a minor, what should the punishment be? Go ahead and this one as well, if you're watching this for, after I've already gone live, if you're watching this later, please go ahead and comment in the, go ahead and hashtag replay in the comments. Please let me know if you guys are watching this. I am going to do something about all of this because I am a mom with kids, and this is not just this bill, but the other bill that says that it's okay for a 24-year-old man to sleep with a 14-year-old girl. That needs to be changed because these are our babies that we are talking about, and over my dead body, will that be okay? I mean, we're looking at it's not even safe for our kids to go to school. I mean, think about that. Let that sit in, you guys, because it's not safe to let our kids go to school. How are you going to protect them if these are the laws that we live under? How are you going to protect their innocence? Because at 14-year-old, they still hold so much innocence. You just go over and the tab at the top, see, like this one's your baskets, and then you go over here and you put this in. And then do your attendance. No. Sorry guys, hold on just a second. I'm helping my daughter log into school and stuff. Please, if you guys feel impelled, please, go ahead and, take my poll that's running right now. I would appreciate knowing your guys' opinions. Okay, honey, you have like 15 more minutes, so brush your hair, get something to eat, get your drink, get set up, okay? Sorry, guys, that was one of my babies, and this is why I'm doing this. My daughter is currently 7, but it is scary to think that when she turns 14, it would be okay for an adult to sleep with my daughter. And this is why this needs to change. So please, leave me a comment. Hashtag replay if you're watching this later after my live's over. Please answer my polls in the comments if you're watching this later and can't answer them now. But who's with me? Who's willing to step up and help change this? Because this is a problem. This is a serious problem. No, I don't think that I don't think that there should be a gender exemption or difference in this law. I believe that equality is important. We have fought for that as a people since the beginning of time. Women, everybody. We need equality. But the problem is that by putting this law into place, this doesn't fix equality. Well, I guess it would a little bit, but this changes it to where it's okay for an adult man to sleep with your minor 14-year-old boy. And it's not okay, you guys. This is not okay. If you guys are willing to make a stand with me, let me know. Private message me if you would like to be a part of the movement I'm about to do, because it's going to be big. We have to save our children, you guys. We have to save our children. I want to make a change for our kids. They deserve for us to put a system in place to protect the future generations coming up. Because if you guys are a victim of a sexual predator ever as a child, you'll understand. Not only is your brain not capable of making those decisions at that age, but it's detrimental to you as a person. You don't understand it. It is detrimental to that child's brain, whether they know it right then or not. Something has got to change. I'm gonna end my video now. Please follow me. There'll be a lot more to come. Please go ahead and take the polls. Go ahead and take the polls. Sorry guys, my alarm. Please go ahead and take the polls, even if it won't let you. Please comment in the comments how you guys feel. Let me know if you guys are willing to stand behind this. Who's on board with saving our children? Because we all need to get on this. I can't be the only one upset. Thank you guys for watching my video. Go ahead and follow me if you're watching this later. #replay. Talk to you guys later. Peace.